There isn't much you can get for $20 these days. I mean, it would get you a large pepperoni pizza from Domino's. You could probably get a few pints down at the pub, or maybe even a trip to the cinema with a bucket of popcorn. But when it comes to wristwatches, the choice is even more scarce. The F91W can be found under $20, but even most of their budget icons are around the $30 mark. So when a wristwatch pops up under $20, my first thought is, well, that's bloody cheap. But how is this even possible? If the budget kings themselves, Casio, can't even pump out $20 watches consistently, how can an unknown brand do it? So with a healthy level of skepticism, I ordered this $20 watch and, well, expected absolutely nothing. Now, typically, I don't review homage watches. I don't particularly have anything against them. I'm just a watch enthusiast that values history. I love the cheesy little stories about the watch once being used as a tool, or whether it's just someone that's super cool once wore it. Maybe even a short story about how the designer had a problem that the watch solved. Whatever it may be, I just find it so much more fascinating when a watch has its own story. So I'm not particularly a big fan of the homage watch. I completely appreciate what they offer, by the way. After all, I am a northerner, and we absolutely love a bargain, but I don't see the point in buying a $150 Pagani PRX homage when you can just go and buy the actual PRX for $250. But when a homage watch is just $20, more than anything else, I am just intrigued. Now, I haven't experienced the actual watch that this is a homage to, so I can't give you a direct comparison or anything, but I am very impressed with what this watch has managed to achieve for just $20. Let me show you why. The packaging is very basic, exactly what you'd expect from a $20 watch. It comes in a small plastic bag with some padding wrapped around to keep the watch safe in transit. It's good to see a hang tag on the watch though. You don't get a warranty card or a spare strap. It's minimal and basic. However, when you get the watch out of the packaging, it is far from basic. Now, I'll start off with the dial because that's probably the most impressive part of this whole package. It features a matte white colour. However, it definitely has a bit of a sparkle to it though. It's not sunburst, it's more of a metallic look, and it doesn't have any real details, but the colour is executed well and actually looks rather good. The printing is done in black, which has a glossy finish. We have Roman numerals around the perimeter and a centre squared minute track, with the branding at the 12 o'clock. I am highly impressed with the level of printing. I don't see a single imperfection on the dial. It's crisp and sharp. Another impressive feature is the handset, which are small sword-style hands with a blue finish. Of course, these will only be painted blue, but again, I'm very impressed with the level of finishing on them. No defects or scratches, they look bloody good. One extra thing, the inner case that surrounds the dial is high polish, which at side angles allows the dial to be reflected. This looks great, allowing the inner watch to feel much bigger and deeper. The glass covering the dial has a slight bevel around the edge, and beneath the perimeter of the glass is a mirror finish, which I think looks rather classy. The dial is spectacular for $20. I've seen Casios, Timexes, and even Seikos that don't have dials as crisp as this. I'm incredibly impressed with the quality here. Already, this watch punches way above its weight. Now, moving outwards and taking a look at the case, is this where we finally see some cheap construction? Well, the case of the watch is unfortunately not made from stainless steel. It is made from a zinc alloy. This will patina over time. When the watch does begin to patina though, regular cleaning will keep the case looking cool, similar to bronze and brass. But we do have a stainless steel case back to ensure that the zinc doesn't turn your wrist green. The case has a H-shaped construction, typical of this style of squared shaped watch. The case is rounded on the sides but is completely flat on the top. The watch is completely polished, and actually to a fairly good standard. I've seen watches costing $100 and upwards that have worse finishing than this. Turning the watch on its side is where you'll see the flat construction, which usually makes a watch wear larger than its dimensions suggest, which helps when the watch is smaller in size like this one, but we'll cover the dimensions just a bit later on. In true Cartier style, we see a blue gem in the crown. I used the word gem very loosely as I'm pretty sure this is just a piece of plastic, but it certainly fulfills the look. Flipping the watch over and inspecting the case back, we see a laser engraved logo with a bit of pattern work on the outer. diameter. The construction of the piece is good. Of course, the zinc case will put some people off, but it's $20, come on. Even if you do wear the watch long enough for it to tarnish, you'll likely just keep it clean and wear a bronze style watch anyways, which is just as cool in my opinion. Now, supplied straps are usually awful, especially on cheaper watches. This one though is actually okay. It's fairly flexible. In just the couple of days I've been wearing this thing, it's conformed to my wrist rather well. It is stamped with genuine leather, but I doubt very many cows have been slaughtered in the production of this one. The grain texture on the outer is executed well though. From the outside it looks like a pretty decent strap. I can't speak on the longevity, but it will do for now. But given that the lug width is 20mm, you'll have absolutely no problem finding a cool strap as a replacement. The watch comes with a deployant buckle too, which again is surprisingly good for $20. It opens and closes easy enough and it's quite flat against the wrist. Oh, and it's actually made from stainless steel, so that's a bonus. Overall, the strap is, well, fairly good. It does the job. Inside the sander, we have the Seiko Caliber Y120. This is a quartz movement that has an average 4-year battery life and an accuracy level of plus or minus 20 seconds per month. This is actually a true two-hand movement, not a standard three-hander with the seconds hand removed, which is actually nice to see. Covering the dial, we have a flat mineral crystal. Some will say, where's the sapphire? I say it's $20. The watch has a water resistance rating of 30 meters. Don't get it wet, put your dive watch on. Overall, these specs are what you'd expect for $20. If anything, I'm just impressed with the choice of the movement. Now, moving on to the wearing experience is where it might be make or break for some. The sander tank comes in two different sizes. The smaller, reference 9031, and the larger, reference 1108. The one I have is the larger model. We have a 22.5mm case diameter, a 34mm lug to lug, and a 7mm thickness, with the watch weighing 35 grams, which, yes, are smaller wearing dimensions, but of course these are typical of this style of watch. Because of the flat case, large dial proportions, and 20mm strap, the watch certainly doesn't look tiny on the wrist. It doesn't look like I'm wearing a lady's watch, for example. It looks like a super classy little dress watch. So they have hit the nail on the head with the dimensions. The experience here is comfortable. The lightweight build and case thickness allows for an extraordinarily comfortable wear. If you wanted to be a psycho and wear this thing on a NATO strap, you'd forget you even had a watch on your wrist. Now, I feel like it goes without saying that a $20 watch of course has its negatives, but with this one it probably has less than you think. The first thing that I noticed is that the steel on the clasp has some sharp edges, especially the side that holds the strap. Some of the cutouts are also a little sharp. I mean, nothing to where it's going to cut you, but it gives you a little shock now and then. Also, I noticed that the buckle of the strap rides around the wrist a little bit in the configuration that it's delivered in, but if you just take off the strap and flip it around, it sits nicely on the bottom of the wrist. I did mention that the finishing of the case is done rather well, which it is, but of course because this is only made from a metal alloy, it won't stay that way for long. Once it gets exposed to a bit of rainwater or humidity, it will begin the tarnish process, which I don't personally mind. For me, it just adds a bit of character, but to some who like to keep watches looking pristine, of course this will annoy you. Finally, the biggest negative for me is that this is of course just a copy of the Cartier tank, which, as explained in the beginning of the video, I tend to stay away from. However, when a watch is just $20, this is completely forgiven. My whole problem with homage watches is, why would I pay $200 for a Submariner homage when you can just go and buy an Orient Komatsu instead, which has its own identity and respect? But when a watch is cheaper than most Casios, what else can you compare it with? There simply is not a like-for-like replacement for this watch at this price. Therefore, for me, this watch is a no-brainer. If you're interested in picking one of these up, I'll leave an affiliate link down in the description, so go and check it out. If you liked this video and want some more affordable watch suggestions, be sure to watch my video here on screen on the 10 best watches under $100.